welcome to my channel, One Enlightened Diva. How are y'all doing today? I hope y'all are doing well. I am doing well. I wanted to jump on here and talk about, well, honestly, I really don't have a title for this video, to be honest. Actually, I didn't write anything out or anything. These were just thoughts that I had, and I wanted to share with you guys. Now, let me just throw this out here, because this is like a real video, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for those that are sensitive. It's not for those that can't look outside the box or cannot take another person's perspective. It is not for people who worship their pastors or their president, or they are worshiping, they're the law enforcement, the judicial system. If you worship any of these, this video is not for you. And let me just say this, that in this video, you'll hear me speaking about low vibrations and low vibrations and high vibrations. Okay? This does not apply to those that are in these fields that are high vibrational, because we know that in everything there's high vibrational and there's low vibrational. So that means there's good and bad, if that's how you want to look at it. So when I speak of people or places or things, I'm not speaking about everyone. Everybody or everyone is not, I'm not placing everyone in a box. The people are very sensitive about their president. They're very sensitive about their pastors, and they don't want you to say anything about their pastors or even referring to their pastors when you're speaking about something. But however, so that's what I'm saying. If you're sensitive when it comes to these people with these labels, then this is not a video for you. Okay. Let me start off by saying that, first of all, we should not be worshiping anyone. Period. Whether it's your mother, your father, your pastor, your president, any government official, any law enforcement. Like, you don't worship anyone. If you're going to worship something, you're going to worship the creator, the divine source. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, if it's an entity or someone to be worshipped. But if it's anyone that's, you know what I'm saying, just a human being just like you, then no. No. We don't. You don't. You shouldn't. And we do. Why do we do that? We do that because of labels. And we got to understand, just because a person has a label doesn't mean that they know something more than you do. Okay? That doesn't mean that they know more than you do. Just because they have maybe a degree or certificate, or hey, they went to school 10 years. I know people that have not been to school at all that know more than people that have gone to school in a certain field for 8 years, or they know just as much. You see? So it's not about that. But my point being is that we are always so quick to feel or think that because someone has a certain role, that they know more than we do. And that's not true. Okay? Now, I'm going to use pastors because I believe that I could make my point better if I use a pastor, but it goes for anyone that's in a certain role. Like I said, nobody's supposed to be worshipped, period. Now, you might admire someone, okay, but worshiping them to the degree where you feel like they have more power than you. And like I said, I'm just use the pastor. We feel like because the pastor has a certain role that they know God, or they're more in tune with God than you are because they have this role. And I'm saying that's not true. Just because you know the Bible, just because you know all the scriptures in the Bible from front to back, and you can create a narrative with those scriptures, does not mean that you have a higher relationship with God than I do. Because it's one thing about it. There are people who've never been in the church in their life or in their lives. They've never read a Bible in their lives. And good things happen to them all the time. You see? We reaping what we're sowing. So just because you go to church every Sunday and you sing in a choir, and even if you get baptized, that doesn't mean that, okay, you're going to have a better relationship with God. Because why? Because if you want to have a relationship with God, you don't need a mediator. All you need to do is just start. If your intention is to have a good relationship or have a relationship with the Most High, then that's your intention. You speak that. You meditate on that. You pray on that. And if your intentions are real and true, then that's what's going to happen. That it's not going to be because somebody said something to you, whatever that is, or they quoted a scripture at you, and now you have a relationship with God. No. At any moment in time, you can have a relationship with God. Period. And the thing about it is, people get it, they get, am I saying this right, misconstrued that because you go to church faithfully, that means that, or if I don't, that means that if something happens to me that's unfortunate, then they'll say something to the degree like, well, yeah, that happened to you. If you'd have been going to church, that would have never happened to you. But what about people who do go to church every Sunday and they sing the choir and something happens to them? Now what? The same thing that happened to the person that didn't go to church happens to the person that does go to church. But what we don't look at is what are you thinking? What have you been thinking, and what are your actions? How have you treated other people in your life or right now? Because that's really what it's all about. Because these things, how you treat other people, how you treat yourself, it all comes from in here, from your heart. That's what God looks at. So I don't care if, you have a church. I don't care what label you have. But if your heart not right, you know what I'm saying? Then you got to really just ask yourself, what really is the purpose of going to church, getting baptized, singing in the choir, and still doing the same old thing? That nothing has changed. Do you want to know why? Because change comes from within. So no matter whether you go through all those channels, if you're not ready to change, then nothing's going to change. So whether you get baptized or not get baptized, whether you don't go to church or you do go to church, whether you read the Bible if you don't want to change, then you are not. And none of those things are going to make you change. That at the end of the day, what we need to understand is change, it don't come from out there. Change comes from in here. So when somebody's saying, what you need to do is you need to start going to church. You know what I'm saying? So you just go to church and you just sit in church. And that means that everything, once you do that, it's like, oh, okay, everything's going to be okay. Whatever, you got addiction, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, issue you have, like, if you sit in church, that's going to fix it. No, it's not. If you've been traumatized, if you sit in church, that's going to make it all right. No, it's not. No, it's not. And it's just like, we tell people like, it's like, go to church. Like, that's going to fix everything. It's plenty of people that go to church every Sunday and they got just as many issues than you do. And even bigger than that, your pastor. We need to understand pastors in all of those professions that I named. At the end of the day, they're human beings just like we are. That means they have hang-ups, they got healing to be done. But we feel that because they're in a certain role that, hey, they've healed from everything and they don't have any issues. And I'm telling you, no, yes, they do. You just don't know. You know what I'm saying? But one thing about it though, but people will argue me down. Not my pastor. My pastor would never do nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? My pastor don't do that. My pastor been married 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then tomorrow on the local news, you see your same pastor handcuffed. Because he been selling drugs out the back of the church for 20 years. I'm just saying, that's all I think of. And I know somebody going to hate me for this message. But it's so true, though. That we can't. The reason why we shouldn't even worship people, period, no matter what their label is, because as soon as they do something, if that scenario about being handcuffed, if that actually came to fruition, then everybody would be so broken and so sad and so hurt. But should we be? I don't think we should be. Why, you might ask? It's because at the end of the day, these people are human, just like you are. And you wouldn't feel the pain that you feel when you realize that they're really just human beings if you didn't worship them. If you realize that they're just human beings that are giving you a message. And that's it. They're not holier than thou. They're not the mediator between you and God. There is no mediator between you and God. That if you want a relationship with God comes from you. And at any time you can have one. And it's not based on anybody else. Your experience with God is your experience with God. And nobody can tell you about your experience with God. Because one thing about it, when God is in your life, it's going to be different from everybody else's experience. So nobody else outside of you can tell you about your own experience with God. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying. And we need to understand that, yeah, don't be mad at the pastor. You know what I'm saying? Don't be mad at the pastor. Be mad at yourself. Because don't get me wrong. If you want to go to church, and that's fine. If you want to listen to your pastor, that is fine. But remember that at the end of the day, he is a human being with flaws. And you might say, well, he probably, back in the day, he probably was in his low vibrational self, until he found God. And so when you hear people say, until he found God, but though, that may be the facade that, yeah, he found God. And that means that, like people be like, well, he found God. And that means he don't make no mistakes. And whatever he used to do, he don't do it no more. Hey, that could be. But then it also could be like, just because you found God don't mean that, you're still a human being. So if you was watching porn when you was in your low vibrational self before you found God, well, you know what? Maybe you don't do that no more. And maybe you do. You see what I'm saying? And so as a congregation, people, when you see, when these things happen, don't feel any type of way about the pastor or whomever, because you gave them that power. You gave him that power, like, yeah, he's the pastor. He knows everything. There's no way in the world he could do anything like that. I don't get, like, people would probably literally fight you if you say something bad about their pastor. They take it personal. You know what I'm saying? They take it personally if they feel like you're attacking their pastors. Or if you're attacking anyone. You're the president, your police officer, your fire department. But like I said, this doesn't apply to everyone. And this message is not for everyone. But I say that to say, your relationship with God is your relationship with God. If you want someone to, read the Bible to you, break the Bible down to you and explain it to you the best way they can, because at the end of the day, that's what they're doing. They're explaining it the best way that they know how, based on what they know, based on their own depth of knowledge. But that may not be your understanding. That's why people always in conflict, because it's like, well, this scripture mean this, this scripture mean that. That's why what we need to understand is, that's why people always in conflict over scriptures in the Bible, because everybody has their own idea of what certain things in the Bible mean. And it's just conflict. And people will argue with you and fall out with you because you don't agree with what they feel, what the Bible means, or what's in the Bible. You don't agree with what they feel it means. And then at the end of the day, it might not mean neither one. Like, whatever you feel it means and whatever this other person feel it means, it might not. Neither one of y'all might be right. Both of y'all may be wrong. You see, but people will fight you about it. People will fight you if you talk about the president, or government officials. They will talk about you. They will fight you. They will argue with you. Like, don't you talk about my president. That's another story. You know what? That's a whole nother video right there. But yeah. And this is like, I hear people saying, what? My thing about, before I even say that, what I was about to say, what about people that aren't able to get to church? What about people that are older and they're in hospice, or they're in a senior citizen's home, or they can't get to church, or maybe it's just somebody who just doesn't want to go to church. And then to some people, they may be like, oh, well, it's like, well, what do you say in that particular case? Like, does that mean that they're bad people? No, it doesn't. It just means that they can't get to church, or they decided they don't want to go to church. But it's us that do the judging. Like, well, these things will be happening to you if you would get up and go to church. And I'll get up and I'll go to church, and guess what? The things still be happening. You know what I'm saying? Because what is that? It's called life. And in life, things are going to happen. That every day ain't going to be the best day. Situations going to happen. And they ain't got nothing to do with church. They just got something to do with life. And what's going to happen in your life is going to happen in your life. But at the end of the day, what we need to understand is, and I hear people agree with me when I say God looks at your heart. That's it. He don't look at another. God looks at your heart. If you think God looks at something more than your heart, then you on the wrong path. Because we got people who don't go to church, or or they rarely go. And we got people who go all the time. I ain't judging, because if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But don't judge people who don't. And don't tell people, well, if you went to church, you know what I'm saying, that would have happened to you. Or you know what, you ain't go to church, you gonna go to hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about. People need to stop telling people that if they don't go to church, that they're going to hell. Like, why would you shouldn't tell your child that. You shouldn't tell anyone that. Matter of fact, you shouldn't even be thinking like that. That, okay, well, if you don't go to church, you're going to go to hell. Ain't nobody been to hell and came back and said, hell's not a nice place to be. I'm just saying. Just like ain't nobody been to heaven and came back and said, heaven is a beautiful place to be. We just need to stop. And stop putting, it's like we put our beliefs on other people. Because I know deep down you're like, well, this is what I truly believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, I believe in God wholeheartedly. I know I know that there's a source, a creator, the divine. I know this for a fact. Because I have that one-on-one relationship with the Most High. And I mean, this is just me. I don't need a mediator between me and the Most High. Because when you know what you know, you don't need anybody to tell you. Unless that's what you desire. And see, and I'm saying, like, we give so much of our power to other people, thinking like other people know more than what we know. You see what I'm saying? As though if you don't do a certain thing, then you can't know God. If you don't do, it's just like if you don't do this, then you can't know God. And that is so not true. And I feel like a lot of people, I'm just going to say people who really don't go to church like that. They may go sometimes, rarely. Or some people just choose not to go. But those same people are some of the best loving, giving people. And we assume that because they don't go to church or they don't do things the way we do, that they're lesser in God's eyes. That because they do go faithfully, that they're more in God's eyes. And if you think it like that, you're still on the wrong path. Because that's not why I'm just saying, if you go to church, that shouldn't even be the reason. Like, my thing about it is, you sit in church, and the same people that sit in church, as soon as they get out there in the parking lot, they slapping their wife upside the head, or sniffing cocaine, watching porn. I'm just saying, like, so it ain't about the fact that you go to church, or it's not even about how often you go to church. It's about what's within. I told somebody, I say, what's the purpose of going to church and listen to the pastor and listen to him quote scriptures, and then it don't change anything? It's not going to change anything. That's just like nobody can make you change, reason with you, force you, anything. Because anything you want to change in your life, it is done because you decided that's what you want to do. You see, it ain't got nothing to do whether you go to church 7 days a week, or listen to your pastor, or read the Bible. Because you can read the Bible, and most people do read it and they still don't understand it. So how can you use something that you don't understand? How can you even sit in church and listen to it and you still don't understand it? And the pastor is only giving you and building a narrative around scripture to try to make you understand. And then when he does that or she does that, now you understand. But it's only their way of explaining it to you to make you understand. But it's based on what they feel that it means. But if you were to take your time or take a moment to read that same scripture, you might get a totally different meaning from it. Now you got to ask yourself, well, is he right or am I right? You're right, because that's how you feel. That's another thing too, how people criticize other people because they have their own beliefs. Like, I just don't understand how people can sit back and judge other people because they have their own beliefs. If my belief, like right now, if you say, well, Valor, I don't believe nothing you saying. I believe this, this, and this. Like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't judge you for having your own beliefs because we're supposed to have our own beliefs. We're not supposed to believe what somebody tell us. That's just like if somebody tell you something and you just take their word for it, all willy-nilly, like, oh, okay, then, yeah. Well, she said it, so it's got to be true. No. And we never take the time to find out for ourselves. So we just take other people's words for things. And we build our life based on what other people's beliefs are. Not our beliefs, their beliefs. And a lot of times we do that because we don't want to, we get lazy. It's like, okay, well, she said that's what it means, so that's what it means, so I'm just going to go with it. You know what I'm saying? And then I tell my child that, and then my child will tell her child. And it's just like, because a lot of our beliefs were given to us from somebody before us, and their beliefs were given to them from somebody before them. But what if all the things you believed or that you thought were true were not? Then what if when it got to you, you saw things differently? That I know my mama taught me this, and my mama taught her that, and my mama taught her that, but I don't see it like that. And that's okay. Because like I said, everybody is entitled to their own beliefs, and nobody outside of you has the right to judge you because you have different beliefs. Like, and I'm pretty sure whoever watching this video right now, they probably like giving me the evil eye. And that's okay too. That's okay. Because I don't expect everybody to agree with what I say or agree with what I believe. But I'm okay with that because I understand that people have their own beliefs, but everybody's not like me. A lot of times people will hear things and it's just like, oh, I don't believe that, you know, and they don't want to hear your perspective because it's different from theirs, or they want to argue with you about it. You know, how you gonna argue or dislike a person or judge a person because they have a different belief than you do? Everybody has their own beliefs, and nobody should be judged on their beliefs. Because I'm saying, who put certain people in these roles to tell another person, well, you know what? That's not correct. That's not right. You shouldn't think like that. That is not what God says. God says such and such and such. And it's just like, okay, so you met God. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So you met God. Now I'm trying to lighten this up now because I know it's going a little deep. But I'm just saying, like, we talk to other people like, yeah, ain't nothing wrong with having a relationship with God. But don't make it seem like, yeah, you know, you and God like this right here, y'all be hanging out and going and shooting hoops and all that. Like, no. Instead of telling children, or even if you tell them, go to church, you know, you know, you might learn something. You might commune with other people your age. But don't ever make your children feel like somebody knows more than what they know. And what I mean is, if they're younger, yeah, the pastor or whoever may know more academically. But don't make them feel like that as they're growing up, that whatever the pastor's saying is got to be true. That you shouldn't have your own mind and your own beliefs and your own thoughts. Now, you shouldn't have that. You just listen to the pastor. Whatever the pastor say, that's what it is. Like literally though, I don't know if I was watching something on television or what. And somebody said, like, they wanted to ask a question to the pastor, and their parent told them, don't you ask the pastor nothing. Shh. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. Let people have their own beliefs, you know. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to get on here. Like I said, I was ad-libbing, and it was just a message that I received that I just wanted to share with you guys. Like I said, this is not for everyone. And this is not directed towards everyone. I want you guys to have a beautiful day. I want you to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell when you want to be notified when I upload a video. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you want to donate to my channel, support my channel, my Cash App is down in the description box. Thank you guys. Y'all have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.